Hi, everybody. It's Joe Cioffi, Fios One News, Long Island, and Fios One News, New Jersey.
And Joe Rao, Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley.
You're back.
And yes, we're back.
Yes. We missed you the last 2 days.
Oh, I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else but here these last 2 days. But due to circumstances beyond my control.
No, I guess so. You know, if I was saying to you in the newsroom, everybody has to get power washed every once in a while.
Well, this too has passed, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, anyway, we are at the end of another month. We are now going into the month of June.
Oh,
and,
boy, I can't believe it. Can you believe it? It seems like only like 6 months ago was Christmas. But
because 6 months ago it was Christmas, yes.
Oh, yeah.
But we are, kind of marching along. We're still in a very almost mid-spring pattern with this blocky pattern that's building up in Greenland and the way it's setting up for the weekend and into next week. I just, I mentioned this to you just before we went on. Yesterday we had dry air that came down from northern New England and pushed down to just south of New York City, or maybe between Route 78 and Route 80 in New Jersey. If you were north of there, you had a really nice day yesterday. If you were south of there, you had a lot of clouds and you had to deal with the ocean wind. There's always a chance that we could get some drier air to come down. If the block is too strong, you could have the high to the north kind of push down a little bit, and that could filter down some dry air at some point over the weekend.
Well, we have a cold front that's expected to pass on through by early Saturday, and one of the things that you pointed out, Joe, to me, again off air, is that dew point temperatures tomorrow and for Saturday should be in the 60s, which makes it a couple of relatively uncomfortable days, but dew points drop to around 50 or so, at least in the lower Hudson Valley and much of the tri-state region, close to that on Sunday. And with that big drop in the dew point levels, that suggests that we're going to be getting some drier air in here.
Yeah.
Whether or not there'll be enough dry air, though, to break the cloud cover up to any significant degree, allow for some sunshine, and preclude any wetness from falling here.
Yeah, it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you can get lucky like that and get a little drying. Even if we don't, I don't see this where it rains every waking minute. I think they're going to be dry stretches from place to place and from time to time, and they may last for a significant amount of time, and maybe with a little luck, they could come during the day side rather than, say, on the night side, so that if you've got outdoor things to do, you should be able to do them. But it's kind of touch and go in my view.
Well, tomorrow will be possibly a case of what I sometimes call self-destruct sunshine. The sun is going to try to break through. In fact, it may very well break through during tomorrow afternoon. However, take note of the fact that with dew point temperatures in the mid, maybe even upper 60s, very moist air mass, and the cold front lurking not too far away to the north and west, we may see a few showers and storms pop up as a result of that atmospheric heating later in the day tomorrow, and we may see some thundery weather last into at least part of tomorrow night. And then we'll have to deal with the cold front coming on down and through our area first thing on Saturday morning. So it still looks like a rather unsettled forecast, and even though people would like to see and actually may want the sun tomorrow, it may work against us by creating some rather, I would say, violent weather. It does not look like if we get a thunderstorm tomorrow, it will be of the type that will be verging on severe, but still, a bit of a,
I think the further north you go, up the Hudson Valley, the further north you go, the better chance you have of that, getting some dry air in here at some point. And the opposite is true. The further south you go from New York City and east, the better chance you have of sitting in clouds. Just to want to show everybody, we're socked in with clouds right now. We're waiting for a warm front to go by, and there are some showers and thunderstorms showing up on the radars to our south. If I can just find, there it is. I got to shrink this down. I'm going to bring up, I don't know what I did with the Northeast Regional Radar, but I think I'm going to take this. This is the Southeast Regional Radar. and it's still getting rain in Florida, by the way.
Yeah.
And also, wait a minute, sorry about that. Also, you've got some pretty hefty rains in parts of western North Carolina. There's been a lot of flooding, mudslides in western North Carolina and western Virginia. That seems to be where all of this keeps happening, almost day after day with all this tropical air.
And there's two different, for you baseball fans, our New York teams are experiencing two different scenarios. The Mets are playing at Citi Field right now, but they're playing probably through either a very light drizzle or a mist, not enough to cancel the game. But meanwhile, the Yankees are down in Baltimore, and as you can see on the radar,
perfect timing.
They are getting hammered down there. I know that the game was held up for a while.
There's two lines. That first line's going through now,
right?
And there's there's a line right behind it. It's actually, kind of a snaky line that runs down, but there's a second area that's bulged back to the west.
I'm not sure if the Yankees were actually rained out down in Camden Yards in Baltimore, but certainly you could see it does not look like it looks rather grim, to say the least, for a baseball game tonight if you're down in the Washington-Baltimore area.
Courtney Kane is watching us. Courtney, our news anchor here at FiOS 1 News, she was asking before about whether she was going to see sun in the upper Hudson Valley, as you go north in the Hudson Valley. And we were talking about that before. What else? She said
Courtney should come in here and join
she
us.
should if she wants.
I mean, we want to get some higher ratings in here.
Yeah.
If you'd like to see Courtney Kane live in person, Courtney, if you hear me right now, why don't you come on in here and say hello with us?
Thank you, Courtney. If you want to come back in the weather room so you can say hi to everybody. One of the things, Joe, we've got with this area here, it kind of looks like it's holding together a bit better than modeled earlier. I wonder whether some of this is going to survive overnight. Maybe give a few people some downpours or a rumble or two of thunder in parts of New Jersey and in the Hudson Valley and on Long Island. Maybe during the early morning hours. What do you think?
Yeah, it's quite possible. Certainly, again, the atmosphere is going to remain on the moist side. That must be either on or right behind the warm front that's coming in.
Yeah. With
that very muggy air for tomorrow. And
well, let's see what the HRRR has to say. First of all, let me bring us back full. Okay. I'm out of practice, Rao. When you're not here, I suffer. Okay? Come on.
Now.
Hang on.
In the interim, we can say that. This.
I'm just having a bad day.
Blocky pattern is not too good now. We're into. First of all, tonight it's going to be a rather mild night by the standards of the end of May or the beginning of June. Well into the 60s. Some spots will be close to 70 for a low temperature tomorrow morning.
Right.
And
temperatures aren't going anywhere tonight. They may trend a little lower on Long Island with the wind off the water, but for the most part, they really aren't going to go anywhere. Had a warmish feel to the day today, though.
Yeah. And tomorrow again, the sun comes out. Those people who were hoping for the sun may think twice after being exposed. Now, we've had a few very muggy days over the last week or so.
Right.
So
here's the HRRR with these cells overnight. So let's see what it does. So it looks like, to some degree, they weaken in terms of the maximum intensity, and then it looks like they weaken even further. A few little blips kind of survive. It's hard for me to see, but it looks like there's maybe it has a couple of small cells here around 6 a.m. Just right over New York City and into Long Island Sound. So yeah, I guess there could be some of this stuff might wind up surviving overnight. And then we get into the warm front, and I guess the warm sector, and then we wait for whatever happens tomorrow evening or tomorrow night when the cold front approaches. I don't know how much is going to be there. There's some indication that it may all fall apart before it gets here. I don't know.
Well, we'll just have to see. I think the best chance...
You can see how inspired I am.
Well, I think the best chance for, at least in the lower Hudson Valley, for seeing showers and storms tomorrow will run from about 6 in the evening to maybe midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning. That 6 or 8 hour time frame. And as you go to the north and west, especially as you get away from the New York City area and closer to the cold front, where the front will be, still active into the early evening. That'll give you your best chance of getting showery and thundery here tomorrow.
What did you think, by the way? Because a few of the models did this. Okay, so we get this front goes to our south. We turn the wind northeast during Saturday night. A little low, low pressure kind of forms off near the Delmarva Peninsula. It just kind of sits there, and this is now for Sunday morning. That high is building down, so I can sort of get where it's trying to bring this dry air down for Sunday, and then it starts to lift that moisture up because there's more energy that comes out of the Great Lakes. One of the things that the GFS did today, and the European did it too, with the way the block is operating and this energy that's coming out of Canada that's going to get forced down to the southeast, that it actually developed a
pretty healthy looking low.
Yeah, that kind of caught my eye. This is going to be for Monday night into Tuesday.
Right.
That's a pretty wrapped up little low for this time of year.
Considering that the models were signaling that Monday and Tuesday, with that onshore flow, the temperatures in some parts of our viewing area may not get out of the 60s. And you look at the calendar and it says June.
It might even be lower than that if you get good solid rain like this with a northeast wind. You'll probably be down in the 50s.
I said this on our, and I hope a lot of you had a chance to watch our special at 7:30 this evening, the Summer of 18. And when Brian Fitzgerald asked me my opinion of the upcoming summertime, I said I thought that the weather pendulum was going to go back and forth, because I could see days, I told him, I said, I could see days when we have like unusually chilly weather or cool weather, and then we go right back into a spell of exceptionally humid and hot or warm weather, and look at what's happening. Tomorrow could very well in parts of our area rise well up into the 80s with moderate levels of humidity. Come Monday and Tuesday, 60s with a raw easterly wind, a chilly air mass, and that's what I meant, going back and forth. It doesn't seem like we're in this. It doesn't seem, Joel, at least to me, like we're going to, once we move into a specific air mass, that we're going to stay in it for many, many, many days.
Right. Well, it looks like after Wednesday of next week, this block does break down. I would just be cautious, though, because sometimes they do wind up lasting longer. Models tend to break them down too fast, and then they wind up staying a few extra days. But I think the hardest part, probably going through, between now and next Wednesday, for me, it's the day after day after day of cloud cover. It gets very, very depressing. And very Seattle-ish. If I wanted Seattle, I would go live in Seattle.
Yes.
Very Seattle. Not that I don't like Seattle. I'm just saying, the climate there, you can be dreary for a long period of time.
Ironically,
it's a little hard to take.
Ironically, June and July in Seattle and in Portland, in fact, Oregon is known as the Rose State because at this time of the year, the roses are coming out. They're all in blossom.
Right.
And the weather, for however brief a time it is, and the calendar for them is just about perfect for this time of the year. Like maybe 1 or 2 months out of 12, they get some nice weather. It seems like they have shifted their kind of weather to us, or at least it will seem like that probably Monday and Tuesday.
We tomorrow starts hurricane season, and one of the things that someone messaged me a little while ago, who's like Anthony Orr, who is on from time to time, and he's on my YouTube channel, and he's very good about finding new statistics and verifying a lot of weather statistics. And apparently the folks at Colorado State University, who have already come out with a hurricane forecast early this month, and here we are the day before hurricane season, they actually updated it today and have cut their numbers back to I think they originally had 16 or 17 storms and 6 or 7 majors, and they've cut that back down to 14 with only 2 majors. And one of the things that one of the reasons they're doing that is that apparently the ocean water temperatures in the Atlantic, in the tropical Atlantic, from 60 degrees west all the way out to the African coast, and to north of 2025, are at are below normal, and the coldest since 1994.
Well, that's interesting.
So, I don't know. The thing is, I've noticed over the last few years, when I started paying a little closer attention to the overall profile of the water temperatures, one of the things I noticed is that they can flip they can be colder than normal, but it doesn't take much to flip them in the other direction.
Right.
We had that happen here, where we had those almost record or near record ocean water temperatures back in February of 15. Okay, in terms of below normal.
Right.
That was the year. That February was one of the coldest in many years, and I remember going by the ocean. The ocean water temperatures were so cold that the water looked like it was just at the point where it was going to get ready to freeze, and you could see that the waves were, the water would crash. It just basically in slow motion come crashing down. Right. Well, it only took a matter of a couple of weeks before when we went through the spring and later in the spring, and all of a sudden we were running water temperatures about above 3 to 5 degrees above normal.
Well, I've seen summertime, July and August water temperatures that have been exceptionally warm, and then within a matter of days, they suddenly got very cold because of upwelling.
By the way, just really fast, let me correct my numbers. I got to write these things down because my memory is not good. Okay, so they had 7 Anthony Orr, thank you so much. Thank God for him, because he stays on top of me. He gives me the stats. I try to remember them. I can't. I inevitably get some of it wrong, and then I got to correct it. So here it is. They had 7 hurricanes and 3 majors. Now they went for 6 hurricanes and 2 majors. I thought 7 majors didn't sound right. Okay, so so it's a slight reduction, but it's based on the fact but that almost matches the National Hurricane Center's forecast. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. What I was just saying, trying to buttress what you were talking about, how quickly the water temperatures can change, and you mentioned the wintertime scenario. I remember more than a few summertime scenarios where we've had very warm water temperatures, and then all of a sudden, because of whatever atmospheric condition is taking place, you get the upwelling,
like a screaming west wind,
right?
And it goes to mid to upper 90s, and the water temperatures drop to the low 60s,
right? Exactly.
That's really that. I've always found that very, very inconvenient. Let's put it that way, because I kind of like a warm ocean, so I limit my swimming on the South Shore when I go to the beach, which is not very often. I usually wait till the very end of August, the first week of September, when the ocean water temperatures are at their warmest. Otherwise, I will not do it. Although I will go in the Great South Bay. It's amazing how warm the Great South Bay gets. The temperatures in the Great South Bay can get into the 80s. It's like Florida. It's like Florida bathwater in the middle of August. I was shocked to find that out. After all these years of living on Long Island, I never took the opportunity until the last year to go down and try and go into the Great South Bay, and I was amazed at how warm that water got.
And you talk about the water temperatures as being the main reason for the slight reduction. We've had hurricane seasons where somewhere in the mid or late part of the summertime, they've dropped the forecast or predictions because of stuff like sand or dust.
Oh, the dust from the Saharan dust.
Sahara dust, yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I mean, who knew at the beginning of last season, in terms of the predictions that were out there, nobody predicted 7 majors, and no one predicted 3 Category 5 hurricanes. Okay, in their long-range outlook. That outlooks are outlooks, and I think the reason why they do outlooks is because if they didn't, people would ask for them so much that they just basically do it to keep everybody calm. Okay, I'm not a big fan of doing them. That's why I don't really get too involved with the long range stuff. So when somebody asks me about next month, next season, next year, direct your question to somebody that's into that stuff, because that's not me.
Yeah, but nobody does. Even those who do the long range, either for winter or summertime, ever go for the anomalies, the anomalous scenarios. As you just pointed out, nobody would have gone in their wildest dreams for as many major hurricanes as what we saw last summer.
Right.
Nobody would have, if they predicted or were claimed to be a long range winter forecaster, nobody would have said 4, not 1, not 2,
4
but 4 nor'easters in the month of March.
And then when the blocking pattern is evolving in front of you, you've got everybody denying it, right, which is even more annoying. But that's just the nature of it all.
You and I were sitting here. I firmly remember the final week of February, and a number of all of you were throwing in the towel and saying it's all over. Yeah. Winter is done or whatever. And this man over here was pointing out day after day in those final days leading up to March. You're seeing the block. This could be something major. This could be something significant. Well, Joe, I have a question.
Well, broken clocks are right twice a day, Joe. It worked out well from that respect.
You said we were headed for a block. We got the block admittedly. Now I'm going to ask you now, when the hell is this block going to finally break down?
Well, that's the thing.
It keeps breaking down, but then it comes back.
And whenever the North Atlantic Oscillation is a very funny thing because it can basically disappear for a long, long period of time. And on the other hand, when it is around, it does kind of tend to just basically come and go. It's a highly unstable, of all those teleconnections that we look at, that's probably the one that's the most unstable. It comes and goes. It only lasts maybe for at most a couple of weeks. Every once in a great while, you get a year like, say, 2010 or 2011, where that NAO is basically negative for 3-4 months at a time.
Right.
Okay. The rest of the time, it's just sort of this up and down sort of thing. And I think that, this one's going to probably fade away in another week or so. Let's hope so, because we haven't been able to string, anything more than 2 days of nice weather lately. And I think it'd be nice if we could string together something longer.
Right.
But
right.
I want to do stuff outside. I want to I want to do some beach stuff. I want to fish, and you folks at home want to do the same kinds of things.
Yeah.
So
but it's like the movie that grade B science fiction movie that Steve McQueen appeared in the 1950s, The Blob.
Oh yes, the Blob.
Yeah, the Blob. But he kept knocking the Blob down, and the Blob kept coming back. This thing is like the Blob. It's like, you think that it's breaking down. You think that we're finally going to a nice spell of prolonged, nice weather, and then all of a sudden the blob block rebuilds itself.
Exactly.
And I'm just waiting. But it all started I goes all the way back to the end of February when we started seeing this for the first time. And now the question is, if this were to continue through the summertime, we all remember October of 2012, a very significant block that.
Well, let's not go down that particular road yet.
I'm just saying.
This is why if the block breaks down, it probably, as JoJo Kelly is just asking, of the heat arrive. Well, I would tend to think that it would probably bring in some heat into the east if the block breaks down, because that would mean more than likely a ridge builds in the east, and but at least you start to get weather systems to move along. It would bring some, maybe some hot weather for a couple of days, but we got to see the process get underway.
One of the analogies, and this goes back to the late great Tex Antoine, when he did the weather both on Channel 7 Eyewitness News, and also before that. How many of you remember when he was on Channel 4 with Uncle Wetby? And during these spells in the summertime, when we had when we were waiting for a nice cool air mass, and a high pressure cell would come down from northern Canada and drift over us, and we'd have that spell of one. But then the high would go offshore, and all of a sudden it would turn against us. We'd have day after day of stagnant heat and humidity. And the analogy he used, and it's a great analogy, is you take a scoop of ice cream and you put it on a hot tin or a hot tray, and initially when the scoop comes over you, that's where the nice weather comes. But then after a few minutes, it just becomes this big mass of slime or whatever, and that's what you end up with at the end, is this spell of stagnant heat, haze, humidity, or whatever, and that kind of like those are like the summer times of old, Yeah,
we'll get those days soon enough.
Well, I don't want those days.
I know.
Remember those? We used to go like through 8 or 9 days of like 90+ degree temperatures, and you'd sit there and you'd look and you'd wait, and you'd see something that indicates that some kind of a front would be coming on down from. We don't seem to get that anymore. I don't know why.
Well, it comes and goes. You get them, then they disappear for a group of years, then they come back, and then they disappear.
I mean,
one of these years we're going to get another one of these, 11, 12, 13 days in a row of 90+. Please. But you know what? Not now. Okay?
Not now. No.
Especially because we both have to fix our air conditioners.
Mine is fixed.
Mine is not. My guy, you know, he's coming Saturday. He was supposed to come yesterday, and he had to change his appointment. He had got delayed, so now he's coming Saturday. So thankfully, let the block hold until I get my AC fixed.
Yes.
We got to go.
Okay.
I just want to say really quick, if Saturday, I will be at the Middle Country Library in Center Reach, Long Island, exit 61 on the LIE. Take the second left, go up 2 miles, take a right on Middle Country Road, and then take a left on Eastwood Drive, and the library's on your left. It's very easy to get to. It's all main roads. Otherwise, use your Waze, your GPS, or whatever. But that's at 10:30 in the morning, okay? And we'll be talking about hurricane season and all the stuff that Joe and I have been talking about now. The other thing we should mention is our weather special aired tonight on FiOS 1 News, Long Island, New Jersey, and Hudson Valley. It will air again at some point, but we will also soon have it available so that we can share it to you. So we'll be putting that up on our Facebook pages as soon as we can share it over social media. It's a 30-minute show. It's a good program. If you're into weather, you will enjoy it. And just look for that. Hopefully we'll be able to do that in the next couple of days.
We hope so. And until then, this is Joe Rao at FiOS 1 Lower Hudson Valley.
And Joe Cioffi, FiOS 1 News Long Island and FiOS 1 News New Jersey. We will see you tomorrow at 9:15 on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. And I'll be on tomorrow night on YouTube at my usual at 7 probably at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Have a great evening, folks. We will see you tomorrow.